Welcome everyone to InspireWord. It's Tuesday, and we've got a really awesome guest tonight. Jennifer Baugh of Young Catholic Professionals is with us tonight. She's absolutely an amazing entrepreneur slash woman of faith. Just had a baby, and her and her husband are just thrilled. So many things to talk about with her. First, thank you to Solidarity Health Share and Catholic Order of Foresters, as well as Charity Mobile, the pro-life company, for cell phones, for their support and bringing these candid and very exclusive conversations like FaceTime to all of your living rooms for you to enjoy. So without further ado, let's bring in Jennifer Baugh, whose name I butchered in practice a billion times before she came on. Jennifer, good to see you.
Hey, Joe. It's good. It keeps us humble. How are you?
I know. Please tell me I still said it right, though. That would be terrible if I didn't say it right.
I can just go by Jennifer. That's fine.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Please just let's get into your story. I think even from birth, your story is absolutely amazing. I mean, you're cultured, you're traveled. Let's let people know who you are first from a personal standpoint, starting from the beginning.
Well, thank you so much. Yes, it's been a wonderful adventure, a beautiful adventure. My parents have traveled all over the world, and so I was born in the Philippines, in Manila. So I say I'm kind of an island spirit, a little bit of a free spirit, creative spirit. My brother, who you know, Joe, was born in Hong Kong, and then we moved to Norway, Connecticut, San Antonio, Miami, so all over. And really, I was kind of a high achiever, so focused so much on school. And it really wasn't until I had time off in between grad school and starting a consulting job in Dallas that I had time for silence. And it was during that time I realized that my faith was surface level. Even though I was Catholic, I went to Mass. My faith was really not something that permeated every moment of my life. It wasn't part of my identity. And so it was during this time that I had a powerful conversion experience, and I really credit that to silence, to the time for silence, and really reflecting and looking inward. And born with Young Catholic Professionals through that journey of faith and adventure.
Wow, tell us about that, the silence, and maybe hearing a call, or a lot of young folks hit this point in their life where they have to make a decision. Some get the decision time to make it multiple times than others, right? But everybody hits that point where, what am I doing? What am I on this earth for? Can you kind of talk a little bit more about that for even, it doesn't matter what age you are, people that hit that point and start asking those questions that you just talked about?
Yeah, I mean, it's such an interesting time. I mean, for me, it was in my 20s, just graduating from my MBA, and I think a lot of people have that experience in their 20s and 30s where they're trying to figure out who they are, what they want to do for a living, and it's really when a lot of those questions start to surface. And I think, unfortunately, what's happening in our world today is that people are getting the answer to the questions that they seek in the wrong places. And so that's a huge part of Young Catholic Professionals is, we exist to provide a community so that when people are going through these challenges in your 20s and 30s, what your career is going to be, who you're going to marry, what you stand for, you're surrounded by the right people who can support you and keep you grounded. It's such a challenging time.
Right. Well, so I want to talk about Young Catholic Professionals here in a minute. What did you think you were going to be going through schooling? And at what point did you realize, so what did you do prior to the organization, Young Catholic Professionals? And then when did you realize or have the inspiration? Do you remember the moments or the episodes that led to it to start such an awesome organization?
Yeah, so in undergrad, I thought I was going to be a psychologist. So I went and started off as a psych major. And then I realized that actually business is a little bit more about psychology than even psychology. So much of the business world is sort of understanding human behavior. So I switched and became a business major with a minor in marketing, and worked for a broker dealer right out of college, and then went and got my MBA. and then was really hoping to do something more in the line of business development because I really enjoy people. I enjoy connecting people. And I was recruited. It was during 2008 to 2009 where there was no job opportunity, and I got a great offer I couldn't refuse at a consulting firm in Dallas, Texas. So it was corporate restructuring. So I didn't think that would be my forever job, but I did. I was the type of person who, was a high achiever, and I knew I wanted to do something great. I just wasn't sure quite yet. I always had the entrepreneurial leanings. I think in part because of, my family upbringing. And also, sometimes the corporate world, it seems a little stuffy. You know how that is.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. And then, so from that transition, what led you into, or what was the inspiration behind starting such an awesome organization, Catholic Young Professionals?
Well, like I said, I had that time for silence. So I had just graduated from the MBA. I had my job lined up 8 months later. And it was really the first time in my life I didn't have an exam. I didn't have, something on the other end. And so I finally kind of let go and sort of just made time for God to speak to me. And so I really did a lot of soul searching, trying to figure out who I was. And what I realized through that time is that my faith was surface level, that I called myself Catholic, but I really didn't know what I believed. And it wasn't something that was the most important thing in my life. So at that moment, I decided to go to daily mass. I started reading about Pope Emeritus Benedict. He was the Pope at the time, and reading a lot of his writings. And I just literally fell in love. It was like opening up a treasure chest.
Yeah.
So I said to myself, there've got to be other young Catholics like myself who are in the world, who are working, but want to be grounded in faith, and that faith is the most important thing in their lives.
Right. Well, I wanted to emphasize that point again as people are joining. I want them to hear that start. We're with Jennifer Baugh. She is the founder of Young Catholic Professionals, and we're talking about the inspiration behind that, the inspiration behind her personal life here in a little bit with a new delivery that came, and a lot of other great things that are going on. So please chat us. It's live. Ask us questions. We'll be happy to answer any questions people send us through the chat. Jennifer, can we go through real quick what exactly Young Catholic Professionals is? If somebody has never heard of it, can you kind of give us a rundown of what it is and what the purpose of it is for?
Yes, we are a nonprofit organization, and we reach young people in their 20s and 30s. So any profession you could think of, we have teachers, nurses, marketing professionals, entrepreneurs, any career you could think of. And the point is to bring us all together in the supportive community. And through that, we're encouraged to go back into the world wherever God has placed us, and to live our faith boldly in daily life. And so we do that through a whole lot of programs. We have an executive speaker series where we feature extraordinary Catholic leaders. We have panel discussions on the virtues. We have mentorship, spiritual guidance, a national conference. We're reaching tens of thousands of young people across the nation. And we do this through a chapter model. So we have chapters in different cities, and we're looking to expand because we have young people reaching out from cities all over, actually the world. We have a conversation next week with some young professionals in Guadalajara, Mexico.
Wow.
So it's all about sort of the support of community. The world is hostile to faith, but when you have that knowledge that you're not alone, and you have this sort of encouragement of the mentors who have gone before us, you feel like you can do it, and that's what it's about.
That's awesome. I mean, I was actually privileged enough to have the opportunity to speak at the Austin chapter, and the people I met there, and just the camaraderie of the group, and it was just so solid all the way around. I was so inspired by it. I actually try and catch a couple happy hours every now and then down here in Austin. I think what you created is such a really neat atmosphere for younger Catholic professionals who want to meet not only other people who are like-minded, but network in that way. And prior to Young Catholic Professionals, I think the only other group like this was for actually more geared to our parents' generation, called the Goddess. Would that be correct? Or I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but I can't think of it or know of any other one. Would that be true?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think that it is a missing, there's sort of a gap, right? Because almost everyone does something for a living, right? And so the concept of bringing our faith into the public square and connecting faith and work, it really hadn't been done in an organized national way, I think, before Young Catholic Professionals. So it's wonderful. We work in cooperation with dioceses. We work in cooperation with parishes, and really the idea is to connect. And we've had so many amazing stories of people coming back to the faith because of this, because it's all about the power of witness. It's
Right.
when you see other people living their faith, it sends a signal that we can, I can do it too. So it's been really a remarkable journey.
Right. No, absolutely. When you were talking among the amazing thing that's happened since you started it, one thing I think I had a conversation with about from one of your members was you guys have a special devotion to Saint Joseph. I am blessed. My mother and father blessed me with the name Joseph. Our COO at CatholicSpeakers.com, his name is Joe. So tell us a little bit about one of the greatest names on the face of the earth and why you guys are devoted to such a wonderful saint.
Oh, he's the best, Saint Joseph. And I think, this has been a time for all of us. It's been a challenging time, but we've had 2 feasts of Saint Joseph in the thick of all of this, right?
Right, yeah.
And then Saint Joseph the worker. And I think it's a sign that we need Saint Joseph. He is patron of the Universal Church. He's the patron of families. He's the patron of travelers. He's the patron of workers. There's a lot of people unemployed right now, and we need to call upon St. Joseph. So, of course, he's special to us because with YCP, a huge part of what we do is focus on living our faith at work. And so as patron of workers, we call upon him so much, his example. We ask for his intercession. We couldn't do it without him.
Right. Well, he is a great saint, powerful saint to call on in times of challenge. And let's get into that. InspireWord was started by CatholicSpeakers.com to bring faith-based leaders like yourself to the living rooms as they're FaceTiming with you and having a candid conversation in your house. Again, thanks for inviting all of us into your living room tonight with a newborn, which we're about to get into. We'll leave the best stuff for last. Talking about St. Joseph overcoming challenges, and in InspireWord, we want people to just get messages of faith and inspiration to keep them going and to feel positive in times that are so challenging. What would be your advice, or how has better put, how has young Catholic professionals handled the COVID crisis, and what kind of advice would you give to folks with how you've all pivoted from normal everyday life to what you're doing now?
Yeah, I think a huge virtue of Saint Joseph is his faith. We can look to his faith, that he had faith in God, and he persevered no matter what obstacles were thrown at him. He persevered when Mary was going to be the mother of God, when he was told to flee to Egypt. He persevered, and we're in a time now when we need to persevere and we need to trust in God, just like St. Joseph did. With young Catholic professionals, it's definitely been interesting because so much of what we do is in-person events. So of course, we had to postpone in-person events, and we've been doing a lot of virtual programming. And in fact, it's been wonderful because we've seen a lot of creativity. Our chapters are doing, during Lent, they did virtual Stations of the Cross. We had one chapter in Chicago that did a panel discussion on a virtue, sort of seeing all of this that's happening to us with the virus through the lens of a virtue. And recently we did a info session with the Perspective chapter in Boston, and they used a speed networking kind of function of the Zoom. And so we were able to help people connect during this time. So we've seen creativity. The other thing is we were able, YCP as an organization, to employ people for short-term contract projects because we knew a lot of our members were laid off. And so we have a lot going on the national level. We certainly didn't pay these people much, but we've found that just giving these young people an opportunity to do something meaningful during this time has really brought a lot of hope.
Wow. Well, that's, what's probably going to pay off even more than just, even anything for some people right now is a great help. But what's going to pay off is the network they're probably going to make, and the people they're going to meet through this that'll pay off lifetime. for what I can see. So God bless you for that, for opening up those doors. What has been some of your favorite prayers during this COVID crisis that maybe you and your husband have been sharing together, or something, maybe a new prayer you've discovered, or one that you've always liked?
Well, my absolute all-time favorite prayer is the Rosary. I can't think of a better prayer. It really is a weapon. It was clear to me when my husband and I were married on the Feast of Our Lady of Fatima, the 100th anniversary, that she was telling me, telling us, stay close to me. And so we've made a commitment to pray the Rosary together as a family every day. And that's something that we've done since we've been married. And I think even more so now during this period, just really clinging to Our Lady, asking her to help us trust, to intercede for us, to protect us. And it was interesting. I learned recently from a priest that in this time where Mass has been taken away from us in some areas, actually praying the Rosary is really similar to the Liturgy of the Word, which is the first part of the Mass.
Mm-hmm.
And then praying the Chaplet is actually very, very similar to the Liturgy of the Eucharist, the Chaplet of Divine Mercy.
Wow, that's great insight. I don't think I knew that. I'm almost embarrassed that I should know that, but I'm glad you shared that. Jen, real quick, let's skip over here. We're going to take up first. Thanks, Wing Top. Thank you for this question. Asking, there are dues involved with joining YCP. And Jen, can you actually start this question with letting folks know if they're watching and have never heard of your organization and want to get involved and actually join, maybe walk them down the path of the best resources online to find, and then answer if there's any kind of dues involved.
Yes. So our website really is the best place, youngcatholicprofessionals.org. You can learn a lot. You can learn about the types of programs that we host. You can learn where we have chapters. And if we don't have a chapter in your city, which we may not, we're only in 21 cities, you can learn how to help us start a chapter in your city. There's really a role for everyone. We're called Young Catholic Professionals, but we involve Catholic leaders, executives. They serve as mentors, as speakers. We involve clergy. We involve diocesan leaders. So there really is a place for everyone. So if you're looking to get involved, you can come to our free events. We have several free events. We have a free executive speaker series monthly. We have free networking happy hours. We have free St. Joseph Saturdays. And then if you want to go deeper and really take advantage of an executive mentor or these panel discussions or the incredible network or a job portal, then you can become a member. And so it's $150 annually, $12.50 a month, which is really not a lot when you think about the fact that you're also supporting this Catholic organization that is very countercultural.
Sure. Sure. No, please keep going with that. I would like for you to finish your thought on that before I chime in on, kind of putting things in relative perspective. But so again, it's $150 annually. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes. Yeah. $150 a year. And I mean, the benefits are great. For example, my husband has a mentor through YCP that he's had for the last year and a half, probably. And they consult with each other. They talk probably every 2 weeks. They call each other, get together on birthdays. And this man is really a devout Catholic who has helped Cody with so many work situations. That is really invaluable in this day and age because, we need help. We can't pretend that we can do it all on our own, right? I mean, as we've seen in recent months, life is going to continue to throw curveballs at us. Right. And we need to be surrounded by people who care about us.
No, absolutely. When you're talking about the fees, I always try to put things relatively, everyone, our organizations, everybody needs to make money to keep the lights on and chat. But when you think about that cost, it really is. I live in Austin, Texas. You're in Dallas, Texas. So those two cities, that's literally a date night, right? I mean, it's crazy.
Exactly.
But if you put it in perspective, I skip one date night a year. Yeah. And I could have opened myself up to an incredible network.
Oh, yeah.
For the rest of the world, maybe it's, New York, and let's not even talk about New York or San Francisco, but the rest of the United States, maybe it's 2 date nights, but still, right? So relatively, that's kind of how I would put it. I want to hop over to another question we had in from the platform real quick because they're starting to come in. I saw people from all over the world coming in, by the way, Jen. I don't know if you caught that or not.
I thought I saw someone from Curacao.
Yeah. So this is great. This is what it's all about. There was a question from Mary in Florida wondering if it was scary for you to quit your job when starting the organization, and did you ever hesitate to dedicating your life to an organization that is controversial? I'm trying to controversial. I guess in today's world, I guess she's right. I mean, any Christian, we're kind of boo if you're Christian because you're apparently closed-minded. So did you have any of those fears?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to say I didn't would mean I was like a robot or something.
Right.
It was definitely challenging because at that time, YCP was really just kind of a concept. We did have events, we had momentum, and I knew that there was something to this. I had a fairly good idea that this was solving a real need, but we didn't have our 501c3 designation yet. There was no money coming in. So I was quitting a solid job to go to nothing. It took a lot of faith, but this is also something I talk about when I mention St. Joseph. Our life as Catholics requires fortitude. We have to be courageous, and part of that means not knowing all the answers, but still being willing to take a step forward. And I think even more so today, our world needs leaders. We need people who are willing to take that step forward when others aren't. And I think that that's what I did with YCP, and obviously through the grace of God, completely. But I think that we need to call upon St. Joseph to help us be courageous, because it's easy not to be. It's easy to kind of hide behind what others are doing.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's well said. There's, these times where people are getting challenges that they did not get before, and they're losing jobs, et cetera, et cetera. It's great to keep that type of stuff in mind. I want to switch over real quick. We do have a couple more questions that came in for you on the platform. This is great. But you recently had an absolute blessing in the family there, you and your husband. Tell us about that real quick, whatever you want to share.
Yeah, today is my baby boy Blaze's 11-month birthday, so he's almost 1 year old.
Wow.
And he's the cutest thing in the world. He's chubby and just absolutely so sweet. And I learned so much about just being in the moment from him, and he's just such a blessing.
That's great. Well, congratulations to you and your husband. That's just that is the greatest blessing in life, is new life, and God bless you all for that. Hopefully that goes well. Speaking of being a new parent, I want to talk to you a little bit about your insight on keeping peace. Yeah. Not only in your spiritual life, but you may or may not be sleeping as well as you used to prior to this. But in this time, Jen, when you're running an organization like you have, and you guys are growing national, as I've watched your chapters grow, and I'm sure you'll be global at some point. What's your advice as a leader of an organization and now a new mother, keeping peace inside and just keeping your head down and keeping calm and not letting things get to you?
It's challenging, but I think what we have to do is we really have to realize that this isn't our home. We are made for heaven. St. Therese says, the earth's thy ship and not thy home. And so in this age where we're all so plugged in, we are so much checking each other for reference before we decide if we go to a restaurant. I mean, we almost can't think for ourselves. We have to stop and really just say, I want to detach from the world and be trusting in God and attached to God. I think it's this surrender, and I'm working on it. I'm not going to pretend that it's the easiest thing for me, because I think when you're a high achiever, you almost are tied to the outcome, right? And so I'm learning to surrender. I don't know if you're familiar, Joe, with the Surrender Novena, but it's a powerful novena where I'll just share with you some of the words. I have it right here.
Please do.
The first day says, surrender to me does not mean to fret, to be upset, or to lose hope, nor does it mean offering to me a worried prayer, asking me to follow you and change your worry into prayer. It is against this surrender, deeply against it, to worry, to be nervous, and to desire to think about the consequences of anything. So basically, there's a meditation each day, and then you say 10 times, Jesus, I surrender myself to you. Take care of everything. So I think we, as Catholics, we have to do that, right? We have to surrender. We have to let it go and not be so attached to the world.
Jennifer, I'll tell you, that is some of the top advice of all the conversations we have with so many amazing people. That's why we're doing this, is that advice you just gave is a great reminder to everybody to continue to do that. I mean, that's the only answer when times of uncertain, which, God tells us through the Bible, don't worry. It's just plain and simple. Put your trust in me and try and do my will. And things are going to be okay. And it's true. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to ask you here in a minute. I'll give you time to think about it. The number one thing you've learned professionally and within family life from the COVID lockdown of being. So think about something, whether it's funny from a personal perspective and then from running the organization perspective, which I'm sure everyone watching, both sides, people will get something from your advice. First, I want to invite everyone to tune in tomorrow night at 8:30. We have Timothy Shriver. Yes, the Timothy Shriver of the Shriver family, starting with a many list of long things, the chairman of the board of the Special Olympics. He'll be joining us tomorrow. Thank you again to Catholic Order of Foresters, Solidarity Health Share, and Charity Mobile, the pro-life cell phone company, for being such great supports of bringing awesome conversations like this from Jen's home to your home and this exclusive access to her. So, Jen, thank you again. And if you would, as we close out here, the half hour, 30 minutes, man, I could go another 30 minutes with you. What could you share from this unexpected hurdle, the COVID, a professional thing you've learned that you're going to walk away from, and then a personal thing?
Well, I don't know about professional. I think it is professional, but I really think without God, we can do nothing. I mean, we've seen that with this COVID. We're trying to solve it with our own human effort, which is good. God has given us amazing skills and creativity and talent, but we can't forget about relying on Him as well and putting our faith and trust in Him and the power of prayer. The other thing I've just been reflecting on lately is the need for sweetness. We have to be sweet to each other. Sweetness, I think, often is there's this misconception that it means weakness. But I think there's a lot of strength in sweetness. I've seen it in spending all this time with my son. And I think that's what the world needs. I mean, right now we're all wearing masks. We're covering our smile. I think we need to show the world that we care, that we really do love one another. And we need to make an effort to be sweet, I think. It's an interesting challenge, but maybe we should all think about it.
It's awesome advice. It really is. I mean, that's a lot of advice that the Lord gave while He was on earth. It was very simple, but direct, exactly what you just said. And I think all of us, me first, need to remember those exact words that you just said. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We're talking with Jennifer Baugh, the founder of Young Catholic Professionals. And no one will forget your name now because I butchered it in the very beginning, which will be fun to rewatch over. But Jennifer, thanks again for allowing us to come into your home and spend some time with you tonight on such a personal level. Real quick, let everyone watching again know where they can find you or find the organization.
Yes, please go to youngcatholicprofessionals.org. It's easy to reach us, and we really would love to connect with you. I mean, it's going to take an army to reverse the tide in our world, and so we want you part of the team. So thank you so much, Joe. This has been a lot of fun.
You're welcome. And if somebody wanted to bring a chapter to their city, the same exact process?
Yep, we have Start a Chapter on our website and walks you through the process. And it's a lot of fun. It's a great exploratory effort, and just imagine all the people that you might meet. So,
well, Jen, thank you for hearing the call of the Lord and starting such a wonderful organization that's so badly needed. And what you're doing is connecting so many different people over the world. You and I being on this call today, this conversation with inspireWord, is a result of Young Catholic Professionals. Literally, I would not have gotten to meet you otherwise. So I'm very thankful for it. Thank you again. God bless you. And we're definitely going to have you on again sometime.
I'd love it. Thank you so much, Joe.
All right. Thanks. God bless.